Okay, so they're spending time with them, listening to whatever concerns they're having, learning to how to understand the specifics of their lives. So what this process does, it involves the rigorous collection of qualitative data, which in turn is turned into deep insight about a target audience, and then this is used to design a set of workable, personalized, data-driven solutions for a specific community. So these things can be tailored to your specific energy industry. This means that is inherently built from what works in a given context instead of trying to adapt in the existing solution to figure out a unique circumstance. So with design thinking's value as a world improving and driving force in business, it matches its status as a popular subject as again with leading international companies. So with design thinking, again, teams have more freedom to be able to generate groundbreaking solutions for companies. So using it, your team can then go behind the scene and have hand-to-hand access and insight and know how to apply the collection of information that's gathered to help find the answers that are needed um, to resolve the issue for your company. So again, we have the 5 stages of design. So, just note that these stages are not always sequential, and teams often run them in parallel. Sometimes they run them out of order, and they're not often repeated, in any given order. So the first stage that you would use is to empathize. This is what researchers use to find out the user's needs. This at this stage is where you would gain an empathetic understanding for the problem that you're working to solve. So typically through doing some sort of research. We know that as human beings that empathy is crucial to humans, so and which is also very important for human-centered design processes as well. So um in this, you're thinking about how can it allow you to set aside your own assumptions and then focus on the insight of your users and their needs. So which then leads us to our second stage of define, and here is where you state what your users needs are and the problems associated with those needs. So at this point, this is where you would accumulate information and that you've gathered from stage one. And during this part, you will begin to analyze as well as synthesize the observation to then define the core problems that you and your team have defined or identified that your consumers have. So this is called your problem statements. And then you can create what's called personas, and this will help you keep your efforts in a human-centered format before you proceed to ideation, which is our stage 3, where we ideate. This is where you challenge those assumptions. This is where you come up with those creating new ideas. So now you've done step 1, where you and then you've done step 2 where you define the problem. Now we're gonna create. First of all, you have to have a solid background from the first 2 phases before you start this one. So this is where the thinking out of the box come into play. So you're looking for alternative ways to be able to view the problem and then identify innovative solutions to the problem statement that you've created. So brainstorming will come into effect here to use before we go to step 4, which is our prototype. This is where we're starting to create solutions now. This is also an experimental phase. The aim at this point is to identify the best possible solution for each of the problems that have been found so far. So at this point, you and your team should be able to produce solutions from that are inexpensive, that may even be scaled down versions of the product or either special features of the items that you have so that you can then investigate the ideas that you've generated. So, getting ideas into the community to get active participation is another way. So, often organizations, you can create a rough draft of your prototype that is then introduced into your community for feedback. And then you can further define that as you go into your pilot phase. So I know this may seem like a lot of work before you even begin to implement a solution, but what makes it worth it is that development practitioners excuse me, are already harnessing this approach at an international level. Even private sectors are even using this in their business as well. So, and the fifth and final stage that we come to after that is where we test. This is the point where you're trying to test out your solutions that you've come up with thus far. So, evaluators rigorously begin to test out their prototypes at this phase. Although this may be the final phase, design thinking is still iterative here. Teams often use the results that have you found to define one or more future problems that may come about. So you can then return to previous stages to make further iterations. If you need to make any type of alterations to your plans, you can refine those at this point to get to the point to where you can find and also rule out any alternative solutions. So overall, I would say you should understand that these stages are all different modes, but they all contribute to the entire design project rather than sequential steps. So your goal throughout is to gain the deepest understanding of your users, as well as what their ideal solution and product would be from you. Excuse me. So again, the goal of design thinking is to help you design better products, design better services, fine tune your processes, come up with strategies that are cohesive to your business, as well as the experiences that customers may have. So, human-centered design, it helps organizations to develop and build on new as well as ambitious ideas, rather than just dismissing those at a pan before they even have a chance to prove that they're even worth being an idea. So, with design thinking, it helps you as well as your team develop practical as well as innovative solutions for the problems that have come about. So we know that it is a human focused, prototype driven, as well as innovative design process. So it helps us cut out the waste. With human centered design, it's a process, but if it's executed well, then it can drastically change the way that you use as well as spend your resources that you have at your disposal. So it helps you be able to forge new partnerships. Human-centered design also brings together different types of thinkers and different type of makers. So people who can bring a different perspective, well as different cultural backgrounds. So rather than and you can also be able to build on those creative abilities from them. So but above all, you want to be able to push it to get it into a product with questions rather than a catch-all solution. So, and as human-centered design becomes more commonplace, in a global development society here, just a couple things to remember as you apply this to your business is first is to have a solid grasp on what human-centered design is before you can decide it's the right methodology for you. I would say, do thorough research to understand what your organization needs are, so that you can better understand it, and so that you can be able to add value to your business. So, with that being said, I'm going to turn it back over to Jessica.
Alrighty, thank you. And I do apologize. I saw that we had a number of emails come through a bit ago that stated that there was an issue with the Eventbrite. I apologize. So we are going to share this recording. So if those who are on the call now, or if additional people join the call, they will have access to this document along with the resources to help them go through the human-centered design process. So thank you, Ty, for walking through this. I just want to continue to reiterate on what she just walked through, right? Because it was a lot. Um, to simply pull it all together, human-centered design is a iterative process, meaning that there are multiple steps that you have to work through to develop the right process, to develop the right product, and to develop ultimately the right strategy for your company or for your team. So as she walked through it, you empathize. That means you understand your customer base. You understand what they need most. You also understand what they're currently consuming so that you can meet them where they're at. You then work to define a problem. There's a gap. Why are they purchasing things? Why are they enrolling in consulting or coaching calls? Why are their metrics not being made? Why are your purchasing goals not being met? You have to understand based on what they care about most and what you're able to deliver. You have to understand that based on what your company's vision, mission, and strategy is, what you think you could solve for. From there, you begin to ideate and develop a process. After that, you develop a prototype. So that's really the product servicing that you're going to have. And then you develop tests. That work includes a number of things. That means you do your research, you develop your personas, and I'm going to provide some examples here in a second so that you'll see what this looks like in a real world example. You develop your customer journey maps. When are they purchasing? What are they purchasing? Why are they purchasing? Right? Then you understand based on what you're looking to solution, where does this fit into the broader puzzle, right? Why would they come to you? How are you unique in what you deliver? And then you roll it out. And as you roll it out, you capture feedback. Feedback is your friend. It helps you to grow, it helps you to redesign and continue to be relevant to your targeted audience. Okay, so now if I were to walk you through how to implement this into your business or your company, there are a few things that I would say. Again, this is a process. You're not going to get it done all at once. So you would need to work through this. If you are a small business owner, this may be something that you work through by yourself, or you may bring in some consultants to partner with you to think through these things. If you are part of a team, you would then partner with those on your team. If you work for a larger organization, you would bring in the right SMEs with the right subject matter expertise to help inform what you're looking to design and develop. Those expertise, you would have your data team. So if you have the luxury of having that, you would pull on those analytical peers to inform this work. If you are a small business, you may just start out with your website data. Who's coming to your website? Why are they coming to your website? Where are they going on your website? What's their demographic? So how old are they? Where are they located? What types of products are they purchasing? Understanding those things. So you work through the modules. So this one is really just to say you do your research. Research can be done. It could be a survey monkey survey, or it could be a survey that's embedded into your website, or it could, for some people, it could be social media. You may just do a consumer research poll where you post it out there on social media to say if you were to purchase something, why? Like what motivates you to make a purchase, or what motivates you to attend an event? You want to learn as much as possible. You want to pull as much information as you have as possible. You can't make a good informed decision without understanding why you're making that decision, right? You need to have enough information to inform it. So you need to pull together what do you currently have? What are your plan services? And I did to protect some information, I did white out some of this, but essentially it's really just pulling together all of these documents that you currently have, your website data, your purchasing history, your website, your social media analytics. It's all of those things to develop a perspective on what you're looking to do. From there, you should have enough information to develop a persona. Who is your targeted audience? So no matter who you are, again, when we started the call, I said we all have a targeted audience. Whether if you are a business owner, you should know who your targeted audience is. If you work for a company, but you service others on your company, you should know who you service on your company, right? Um, and if you don't have any of those things, right, you service the people in your community or in your home in some capacity, they need something as well. We're always serving, we're always designing, we're always creating, and we all have motivations that drive those who consume what we do. It drives them to have a pleasurable experience. And that's what we're really looking to learn is what are those key things that drive an individual to make a decision? Make a decision. That's what it's about. What are those core behaviors that lead you to make a good decision? So, so what do you do next in your process? You could pull something together like this here in module 2, where you understand what are your customer needs? Like what must they do? What are they looking to do? What are their must-have decisions that they perform on a daily basis? Everyone has a list of things that they must perform to get through their days. They're not their leisure activities, but these are just like the basic things that you do on a daily basis, right? And from there, you also have your list of wants. What are the things they desire? What do they desire to be? What speaks to them? What excites them beyond the mundane daily activities, right? So I'm thinking through, I'm going to call out Latoya because I know she does coaching, right? She's a speaker, a purpose-driven coach. So her audience is to work with other business leaders and business owners to have them to help them understand their mission, to help them become more profitable, and to increase their reach and outcome. So what are some of their needs? One is to become profitable. That's just, basic, right? Like they want to become more profitable. They want to improve their branding reach. That's a need. If they don't do that, they will not grow. And if they're not profitable, the business will falter. One thing that they may want to do, they may want to launch a new product. They may want to learn a new topic. So as she thinks through the needs versus the wants, she would be able to create a plan, a coaching plan of sorts that aligns with those things that interest her customer base because now she understands here's my greatest opportunity. I've laid it all out. I understand what they need, and I'm able to address that first. And as I address that, I'm also able to embed some of their wants. So you would create all of this. You would think through it almost like a brainstorming conversation with a team or with yourself or however you need to work through it to say, this is what I know about my customers based on the research and what we've been able to pull together. Then you move into, I actually took out module 3, which kind of really it ranks it out differently, but I think this prioritization matrix helps you to understand how to prioritize better than the other visual. In this particular visual, those same wants and needs that were outlined in the previous one where you listed it all out there, you then get a matrix chart because you can't do everything. When you create a roadmap, there are some things that you can do easily. You can just go ahead, get them out the way, and keep your customer base engaged. There are those more aspirational ideas that you have that you would love to do them, but for whatever reason, it may take you longer. So with that, I would say that I would start out with plotting everything. So what we saw in the previous chart, fill out all of those boxes. Then move into this module where you plot all of your ideas, right? What can you do? What's going to have the most impact with your targeted customer base? And then what's feasible? What can you actually do quickly? And what's going to take a little bit more work? So these are just ideas here, and I probably could have added real examples, but I want you to think outside of the box. I want you to think about those you serve and what you're trying to deliver to see where would you plot those ideas. Like I know that this is something we need to do, but how do we do it? What's the best way to do it? Okay. So with that, you have to understand based on what you want to do, you have to develop goals, right? At the beginning of the year, all companies, all businesses, they come out with these long lists of goals. And sometimes they're rooted in history, but oftentimes they're just rooted in, I think this is what we should do. This methodology helps you walk through the most effective way to develop goals from beginning to end. So now that you've understood, you've done the research, you understand your customer base, you identified your customer audience, You've identified their wants and their needs. You've been able to prioritize those things that you are able to work on. And based on the delivery and the ability to work on those things, now you need to come up with goals. You know that they need this, right? And to do that, you plan to do XYZ. And based on that, you will improve what? So you would complete this chart. Customers need, what's your objective to address that need or that want? Identifying what that will improve. And based on improving that, how do you plan to measure it? So what would be the results of that work? So you're really working through objective to your key results, and that's called OKR. So objective key results. So that's a terminology for business owners, especially if you're looking to scale and partner with other businesses. This is a key terminology to know is OKR. Okay. So now, when you're looking to partner with, again, other teams, right? Because sometimes, if again, depending on where you work at, if you're looking to partner with other teams, you want to be able to take to them and communicate what that vision is for the work you're doing. If you're a business owner and you're looking to partner with other businesses, you need to be able to communicate what you're working on and why they would be a great partner for you. Like it's all about communicating vision. Again, you have to know your customer base, who you're serving, why you're serving. And even as you look to partner and expand, you have to also go back to being able to communicate those same things to the right people. So this is called a design canvas where you understand your vision, you know who your targeted group are. So if you remember, your targeted group is, I apologize. So if you remember, we started out with that in module 1. You understand their needs. You have your goals. So now you have your products that you're looking to deliver. So Danielle, you're in merchandising. So this would be your new accessory launches. Like, how are you going to continue to push the button with what you're delivering release after release? And you also have to understand what makes you stand out. You also have to understand, how does this tie back to your business goals? Like, what is your business strategy? And as you've walked through those modules, you've already answered these questions. You already should know these things by the time you get here because you've considered who you serve, why you serve them, and how it fits into your mission, right? So, I just noticed something. My presentation, when I downloaded it, it is missing something, but I'm just going to talk to it. I apologize for this, right? I wanted to show you in a business plan where this fits. So what is intended to be here and what you'll see in the emailed deck is the email presentation is that it shows you from analyzing to developing your strategy and developing your products. Human-centered design is at the beginning of that work. You start out with human-centered design before you do any marketing, before you connect with your customer base. You have to do your work first so that you're able to communicate later. So this is human-centered design is just woven into the way you think. It's the process, right? Keeping the customers at the core of what you do. Every strategy should not be driven based on dollars. It should not be driven based on the ability to scale. It's all about what do the customers or what does your audience need most? And thinking through that strategy, analyzing your customer base time and time again before releasing, right? You do that beforehand, and this will help you avoid failure. A lot of times you think about those products that have been released. Think about the different Coke brands where they've come out with these one-off special Coca-Cola drinks and they're on the market just for 3 months. And for whatever reason, it doesn't stick. It's because the customers didn't want that. They like good old regular Coca-Cola. And you also have to understand Coca-Cola. You have the brand and why there are some customers that choose Coca-Cola over those who choose Pepsi. Both of these companies recognize that their audience is different. They different people choose different brands for different reasons. And being able to understand, even in the work you do and what you deliver, that understanding that your audience is different based on that will help you to meet their needs and to stay in business. And that's what it's really all about, is to be able to learn, iterate, and stay relevant. So once you get that, you develop your product roadmap. And I apologize, when we downloaded this, I think some of um, the when you download it, I guess the imaging is not centered here, but essentially, right, what you would develop is a list of products. Right now, if I were to ask the individuals on the call, do you have a perspective of what you're going to be working on in Q4 of 2024? Would you know? If I said, do you have a clue of what you're going to be working on in 2025? Would you have a perspective of at least aspirationally what your goals would be? Okay, Margaret, I see you do. Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome. Um, all of this work and understanding your customer base, it helps you plan for those future needs in years to come. You know where they're going to be. You know what their purchasing habits are going to be. You know what their product consumptions are going to be. And you've also considered things that are new to market. So all the rave this year, and we're going to be releasing a white paper here in about 2 weeks about AI, Chat GPT, and Google Bar, and all of those things, because everyone's talking about them, right? How are you going, or how do you plan to leverage those technologies in your business in the years to come? How will you be able to stay relevant, depending on what type of role you have, in the years to come with those new things on the market? So you have to stay abreast to the latest technologies, consumer trends, consumer purchasing habits. You also have to take into consideration the global economy. All of those things, while they may seem so large, you really have to put that in your granular plan so that you're considering every single thing, um, um, every single thing that goes into just being relevant, right? You're not in business for fun. I always like to say that your business should be profitable. Your Everything you do should be, it should have some sort of purpose. It should be to impact someone in a good way. It really should be to impact someone in a good way, to change a life. And you have the ability to do that if you understand what their problems are. So we're nearing the end here. So again, you may not have it all together today. You may just be starting out. Start out with your MVP model, right? Start out with the most simple plan that you can create by understanding that one thing that your customer base needs. By understanding that one thing, develop a plan to build upon it, release it, learn from it, grow from it, right? You have your short-term plans. I like to call those your more operational, tactical things where you're looking to just release things that just have to be done. But don't forget to dream, right? Don't forget to create that quote unquote promising presence, going back to the company. So think about the ideal long-term solution and develop those capabilities that are revolutionary, that really will help you to meet your constituents. And that brings us to the end of today's conversation. We really wanted to just, at a very high level, introduce human-centered design to the audience here. There's so much that goes into really working through it. We just really touched the surface on how it's being leveraged in the industry, what it is, how you could start to work through it to develop out your goals and your plans. But there's so much more that you can learn and do with it. And it really helps you to consider the most minute things that go into making a decision, and that go into making a purchase that goes into a partnership and um, that helps you to have the right strategy in place. Business is all about thinking through what your strategy is, understanding why you're doing that, and making sure you do it well. So we're really glad that you joined us today. We hope that this session has been informative. We would love to stay connected with you. So we have our information here on the website. We would love to set up a call just to talk through this with you in depth. So our information is here. We'll follow up in email just so that if you want to reach out to us, we're happy to speak with you. And we also would love your feedback. So we're going to send out a survey. So we want to know, what did you enjoy about this session? What else would you like to see from us? We would be happy to share um, our learnings with you as we go through this. So again, thank you. Also special thank you to Tracy and Ty for pulling together this material and for presenting as well. You guys are great partners. All righty. With that, I hope you all have a excellent evening.